Well, happy Friday to you. I hope that you are looking forward to a great day. And I hope that this segment of Nehemiah will help us all today. We're in Nehemiah chapter number 2. And if you remember yesterday, we talked about all it takes is one to see a need and be willing to be used of God for God to do great things. Well, today in chapter number 2, the first few verses, and really even beyond what we read, we're going to see that when Nehemiah brings his situation or his concern to the Lord, to the king, the king responds with total favor. He'd already taken it to the Lord yesterday. I spent a lot of time in prayer, and now today he's going to bring it before the king. And unfortunately, Nehemiah is not sure how he's going to respond because he's never been sad in his presence, as we'll see. But this is the thing I want you to get from all this. When we seek the Lord, when we try to be about the Lord's work, when we allow God to be in charge of our lives and be a part of his work, he makes even our enemies support the work. So watch what happens here as Nehemiah speaks to the king, and the king, non-believing king, gives the green light with benefits. So chapter number 2, verse number 1, it says, "And it came to pass in the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king, that wine was before him, and I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been before time sad in his presence. Wherefore the king said unto me, Why is thy countenance sad, seeing that thou art not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart." So the king even knows what kind of sorrow that Nehemiah is dealing with. He's dealing with sorrow of heart. He's brokenhearted for his people. Then I was very afraid, or sore afraid, and said unto the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad when the city, the place of my father's sepulchres, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? Then the king said unto me, For what dost thou make request? So I prayed to the God of heaven. Now think about that. The king says, so what can I do to help? Isn't that interesting? An unbelieving king hears about this city that has been conquered for years. This king didn't even conquer the city. And so in verse number 5 it says, "And I said unto the king, If it pleases the king, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, and that I may build it. And the king said unto me," the queen sitting also next to him, "For how long shall thy journey be, and when wilt thou return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time." Isn't that interesting? The unbelieving king didn't even have to be coerced. God had already set it in motion that if Nehemiah was willing to go back to the city and build the walls, that he was willing to move the heart of the king to support the work. In fact, if you read on into the chapter, you'll see that the king doesn't just give him permission to go. He fully supports the work and gives him everything he needs to do the work, willing even to send more than Nehemiah was willing to accept. And so let that be a lesson for all of us today. When we walk with God, when we're about God's work, he makes even our enemies support us. Even our enemies, they are taken care of. We learned that last night in our study through Acts, that God can take care of our enemies. And so we need to walk with God so that we can have the favor of God, so God will move the hearts of the godless to support the work. And so I want to encourage you with that today. Let that be your lead today. Walk with God, and your enemies, they'll actually help you in what you're trying to accomplish. I hope that helps you. Have a great day.